Ascension forecast for Sunday, January 21st to Saturday, January 27th. Okay, so last week we were kind of wrapping up the final week, the final days of Capricorn season. As I'm coming to you here Friday evening, live in the chat, first of all, thank you for being here. Secondly, we haven't even gotten to the pivotal point in which we are all waiting for, which of course is wrapping up this Capricorn season that will reach its finality here on the 20th. But before that even happens, we're going to have the Sun and Pluto come together, join up, team up, re-energize Pluto, the great transformer himself, before both the Sun and Pluto move into Aquarius energy. That's taking place here Saturday, January 20th. It's going to be a major day. There is a whole energy forecast for your listening pleasure if you want to kind of get updated on what to expect there. We're going to be talking more about this as we kind of move through this Ascension forecast, but it's pretty hard not to talk about what has kind of transpired over this last week without talking about this pivotal point of change, because all of the heaviness, all of the weight, all of the testing of faith, all of the achiness, all of the pain that we've been experiencing has been the buildup to this particular energy shift where we're moving out of this Capricorn energy, we're moving into the Aquarius energy. So again, we have been wrapping up this last part of Capricorn season. And of course, we have the first quarter moon in Aries energy popping off on the 17th. I think the 15th, 16th, 17th was a very trying time for most people, brought out a lot of anxiety, a lot of restlessness, even a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. And of course, that's the whole point of the first quarter moon in Aries energy, is to show us where it is that we cannot continue to do the same old, and kind of trigger and activate those feelings so that we understand that we're at a very important choice and decision point, a point of action, if you will, to either gain distance away from the particular aspects that we're no longer in alignment with, or make an action, make a move towards taking some sort of initiative to get closer to where it is that we desire to be. But of course, if you are just kind of sitting around and letting the energies do what they're doing, then that was likely going to manifest as anger, frustration, or severe bouts of anxiety. We have to learn how to manage our energy better. When you're experiencing anxiety that is unfocused energy, you have to give it a task. You have to give it a mission, especially engaging the physical body, keeping the physical body busy, giving it an outlet to kind of get some of these energies out of our physical body so that it's not bouncing around like a pinball machine and not pushing us to kind of act out and project these not so stable thoughts and feelings on the people around us. Again, we typically speaking do create a mess for ourselves that we don't need to be creating just because we don't know how to handle the energies bouncing around within. And I think many of us could at least look back on that particular, I'm going to say 3-day domino effect of energies, of restlessness, of anxiety, and pinpoint exactly, yep, I should have had better control of my thoughts, of my energy, of my actions in that particular situations, but I did let the energy get the best of me. This isn't about failure. This is about a learning tool. This is about observing what it is that we could have done differently and reminding ourselves that when we get in that same energetic space here in the future, to remind ourselves of that situation so that hopefully we can override the egoic reactive behavior and patterns, and that we can align with the higher self, the observer type of mentality, and choose to do it differently. So this week, what do we got going on? Well, like I previously mentioned, the 20th is the major day of change, the major day of transformation. We are going to see the Sun, Pluto team up, walk into Aquarius energy together, but not before they kind of, have this last little meeting of the minds, if you will, in Capricorn energy. And that's a very important thing to consider. The 29th degree of any sign is a critical crisis degree. It's a karmic degree. And most times it comes with a lot of intensity, comes with a lot of, I'm going to say, unstable energies, because we're supposed to be wrapping up a particular life lesson here. The fact that the Sun is at a 29th degree, Pluto is at the 29th degree in Capricorn energy, the karmic manifester of the zodiac, you best believe that this last aspect that the Sun and Pluto will make in Capricorn energy, this will never happen again in our lifetimes. This is a big deal. So we have this particular energy, and then of course we jump into Aquarius season. Aquarius season is a fixed air sign, so there is a little bit of stability that's going to come out of this, a lot of clarity, a lot of information, a lot of details, a lot of knowledge. But with that information overload, we're definitely going to be seeing things from a different set of eyes, from a different perspective, so to speak, and it will likely majorly alter the path, the plans, the visions, the dreams that we currently thought we were in alignment with. Now, that's not to set us up for disappointment, for, discombobulation at all. However, we've been sitting in a space waiting for clarity for a very long time. We can't choose how clarity comes. We also can't choose about, what hidden details are going to be unearthed, that are going to come full stop, free in our face, that we didn't even know was going on or that we even needed to know. We cannot choose how the information it unfolds. We cannot choose whether or not it stays hidden or not. What we can choose is what we're going to do with it, especially starting with whether or not we're going to react from our ego particular programming, or whether or not we're going to step back and observe from our higher selves and understand what this particular information means for understanding the past a little bit better, understanding why it had to happen to land us in this present moment, and then understanding how it's going to impact and influence us moving forward with our future visions, with our future dreams. So it is going to be, we're just dipping our toe in Aquarius season. And of course, the Sun and Pluto's influence will kind of take us into the, I'm going to say later part of the week. We're still within orb there. So there's still going to be a lot of influence. And we have a lot going on this week that's going to help us kind of fine tune our thoughts, our emotions, our stability, our awareness, our knowing. A lot of levels up coming at us here in Aquarius season. On the 23rd, though, we have Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, again, just aligning with the galactic center here at 27 degrees in Sagittarius energy. So there's a huge infusion of the heart space right now, really helping us to anchor in this new version of self, to really identify what it is that our heart space now needs us to reorganize and reprioritize in our lives as far as people, places, and things go. We have a different understanding now of what would make us happy, what would bring us the sense of safety, security, and stability that we're not currently sitting in. So this is going to be a huge heart activation, but Venus will be moving into Capricorn energy, which of course is going to ground us out big time. Now, when Venus moves into Capricorn energy, we tend to take a more business-minded approach to our affections, to our physical realm, to our happiness, to our joy, to our safety, security, stability. Of course, we will be thinking very long term about what it is that we would want to start building towards in order to provide us with long-term safety, security, stability, happiness, and joy. That has a major impact on our relationship dynamics. The Capricorn energy being like the business energy of the zodiac, we're not messing around. We're not overly emotional. We're able to kind of I'm not going to say turn off our emotions because that would just be silly. But we're able to turn them down so that we're not letting our emotions actually like cloud up our vision, cloud up our element of communication here. Again, like they say, there's no tears in business. Well, as a small business owner, I would tend to disagree with that. However, we are going to be approaching our heart-to-heart relationships or conversations with a really matter-of-fact, this is how it is, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I desire, here's what I am asking of you. Are you willing to get into this newly renewed contract with me? The Capricorn energy is very karmic in nature. We are definitely manifesting out of Capricorn energy as well. So we do have to get really real and raw and vulnerable with our heart space so that we know that we're operating from our real, true, authentic selves and not the egoic self that is kind of stuck in fear and doubt and attachment and insecurities. And so it is going to be a totally different vibe on how it is that we're going to be approaching our personal relationship dynamics and how it is that we're approaching our money matters, our budget, our financial state as well. We always want to glow up. We always want to boss up in this Capricorn energy. And I feel like as long as our heart is in it, in alignment with our highest potential, with our highest purpose, with our highest mission, we are going to see some great changes take place, especially we're having the conversations that we've been running away from where that is concerned as well. Again, just really sitting down and getting down to the nitty gritty, down to the truth, the facts of the matter. This is where it is that we're at. This is where I desire to be. How are we going to get there? This is about building and planning and creating and manifesting a vision, a dream that we are currently conjuring up in our mental plane, in our heart space, that we feel would fulfill the wounds, fulfill the voids that we're currently experiencing, where it is that we're not happy, where it is that we're not, in a state of pleasure and joy, where it is that we're not feeling safe and secure and stable, either within ourselves, our relationship dynamics, our job, our financial situation, our physical environment. So there is going to be a much needed shift in that heart space. Speaking about heart spaces, well, on the 25th, just a couple of days after Venus moves into this Capricorn energy, we are going to have a full moon in Leo energy, the heart and soul of the zodiac. So you want to talk about heart activations this week? Yep, we'll get into it when we kind of start going through the Ascension symptoms here. But Venus is going to trigger our heart space with that shift moving into Capricorn energy, even though we are going to take a more logical, grounded approach to our thoughts, our feelings. It is going to be a major shift in our heart space. And then it's followed up by a full illumination, a full moon event in this Leo energy. So, of course, there will be a forecast and a moon guide to accompany this event coming at you here over the course of this next week. But just a little bit about this. And again, we have to understand that a full moon brings into our awareness some hidden details that we weren't quite aware of. And this is dating back to about August of 2023. And at that time, we had Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money, retrograde in this Leo energy as we went through Leo season, as we had the new moon in Leo. So this is why there's a little bit of flashback to that particular point in time. That is the point in time when the newest version of self that we just currently anchored in and working on integrating was first introduced to us. We had a total collapse of our heart space with Venus's retrograde, with our identity, with our heart space, what makes us happy, who makes us happy, the whole kit and caboodle. So we are having a little bit of a flashback to that particular time because the full moon is providing us this last hurrah, if you will, to grieve the version of ourselves that we had to be in order to get to this particular point in time, and to grieve the quote unquote loss of particular aspects of the reality that that old version of self had created. We need to kind of unpack this emotional baggage on our heart space to lighten the vibe up, to clear the space out in order for us to tap into a new mood and a new attitude. Again, the Leo energy is bold, is brave, is courageous. We need to step into that because we have a new path, new purpose, new life mission that this new identity, this new version of self needs us to start building upon. This, in this Leo energy, is this new creative force energy that we've been working on tapping into. This is the newest version of self, our truest, most authentic soul self, now asking to be expressed through this physical form and this ego identity in order for us to get to this next mission, this next point of our soul's potential. So you best believe that this is going to be both heavy and light. First, it needs to be heavy in order for us to acknowledge the heaviness, the weight, the grief, the sadness, all of the things that go along with leaving certain aspects of ourselves and the world that we created behind. And then the lightness comes in, really infusing us with a new mood, new attitude, new boldness, new bravery, new courage to boss up, to really anchor into this new version of self, to tap into this new mood, this new attitude that is going to carry us into this next chapter of our creation story. So that is definitely going to be a huge full moon event. And then just 2 days after that, on the 27th, we have our final astro event of January, which means that I have to get to work on February's energy forecast and those zodiac forecasts as well. On the 27th, we have Uranus, the Great Awakener, who is technically in his rulership now that we're in Aquarius season, as he is the modern day ruler over this Aquarian energy. Uranus is the Great Awakener who likes to shake us up, likes to wake us up, likes to push us into uncharted territory in order for us to see where it is that we could do things differently and actually get a different result because of it. Uranus has been retrograde for the last 4.5 months in this Taurus energy. The whole purpose of that was to illuminate to us where it is that we are the problem. We're the blockage. We're the reason why there hasn't been any progress. Why? Because the Taurus energy is a fixed earth sign. We tend to get comfortable in the uncomfortability that we have created for ourselves. We tend to hold on to very tightly the realm, the reality that we've created, the material possessions that we've accumulated, the identity that we've been building up in. We have a huge resistance to making any kind of change in that Taurus energy. And this whole retrograde was to show us where it is that we're holding on to fear of losing the attachments that we have, fear of losing the materialistic possessions that we've already accumulated, fear of letting go of the parts of self that we've been using as an excuse to justify our lack of progress, our lack of growth, the reason of why we slip into the whininess and, oh, I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know if we could ever do that. These are the types of narratives that are attached to the old version of self that we have now successfully collapsed. So now that Uranus is going to go direct, first of all, we're going to be way more open to change, even though there is a nervousness, a hesitation, a resistance still alive and well in us. We know that we have to change if we want different results in our life. We know that we can't continue to harbor fear and allow fear to keep us in a state of paralysis, because no change, no evolving, no growth happens that way. There is such a thing of being afraid or being nervous and doing it anyway, because you know that that's the right thing to do. Anytime that you're nervous about making a move, it's because your soul knows that this is the right move to make, but your ego is trying to talk you out of it so that you don't grow, you don't evolve, you don't change. We know when Uranus goes direct that it is time to take a little bit more of a calculated risk in our lives. This is time for us to be a little bit more spontaneous, to kind of roll instead of being dragged, because either way, whether you like it or not, change is happening. It's happening. You may as well get on board. You may as well go with the flow, because getting dragged is not very fun. And so Uranus, again, the Great Awakener, likely bringing in new levels of consciousness, new levels of awareness, not only for us in our individual realms, but for humanity as well. Again, we're in Aquarius season. Pluto's in Aquarius. This is major change, major transformation to societal structures, to the truth, to disclosure. This is putting us in a situation to understand where it is that we're breaking away from the collapsed structures that we've been working on collapsing for a very long time, and that we now have a bigger, broader perspective of A, why things had to happen, B, why it is that we're at the particular point in which we're currently at, and C, what it is now that we are currently building to. And all of that requires a basic level of change. Okay, so that was a little bit of a mini rant, just covering where it is that we're coming from and where it is that we are planning on going. Before I jump into the Ascension symptoms that we can expect from the energy shifts this week, I just want to take a moment and thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for dropping emojis in the comments section below. I want to thank you for the love, for the support that you continue to give all the way my way. And I want to give some of that love back. Speaking of giving that love back, I want to offer you a discount code, a 50% off discount code on the Aquarius Season e-guide that is now out there available for download. If you go to my website and you put the Aquarius Season e-guide in your cart, get to the checkout, type in Aqua E24, and that will give you 50% off an already very affordable resource. I am really restructuring how it is that I'm offering some of these resources, because you all tell me, oh, I don't have enough time for that, or I'm not in a financial situation to, download these guides. Okay, so I've decreased the price for you. I've given discount codes. I've even minimized these little booklets so that you're not sitting for an hour and kind of saying that you have no time to do these things. I'm doing my part. Now it's time to do yours. So that is a discount code. If you want to do the work, it is there for you. If you don't want to do the work, I understand, but I am making it as easy and as accessible for you to do the work so that you can get on this highest timeline. We are definitely in a new timeline. Take a good look around. Nothing even looks the same. Well, it may look the same, but it doesn't feel the same. And we haven't even integrated and stabilized in this particular energy yet. So there's still a lot more change to come. But that Aquarius season e-guide will at least give you the lay of the land on the highs, the lows, the everything in between that we can expect from Aquarius season. Side note, thank you to those that have jumped over to my Patreon, supporting me over there, of course. I have made these e-guide, these zodiac season e-guides available to my silver tier now. I think it's only fair that I have, tweaked the price on it. So this means that, if you're on my silver tier Patreon, you should now see that particular e-guide show up in your feed for your downloading pleasure. Changing a lot of things around moving forward. It is taking me a little bit of time to kind of bring to life some of the things that I have planned. However, any kind of baby step forward is still progress. And even though I take my time to remind you of that, I do take my time to remind myself of that as well when I'm feeling like I'm just overwhelmed and pressurized by my to-do list. So slowly but surely, we are getting things in alignment. We are switching things around. And that is one thing that I wanted to share with you. Speaking of changes, you may have noticed that I changed my profile picture. First of all, thank you to those of you that have noticed, that have commented very nicely on it and showed me some love. Let me just say this. I haven't changed my profile picture in like 5 years. Thought it was time. I find it very uncomfortable to do that. I'm not somebody that likes to be seen. I actually would prefer not even to be heard. And I know that sounds like a little bit of an oxymoronic situation for me to be in, having this channel and having this podcast. But I struggle enough to be heard. I definitely struggle being seen. And I've had a lot of people, it always comes in threes, so that I know it's a divine message from source. And I know that they're just frustrated as all F with me. But I've had people come in threes asking me if I have any plans to do lives. Never say never, but probably not. I can barely feel comfortable changing a profile picture after 5 years. I very, very much doubt that you're ever going to get me comfortable enough to sit in front of a live chat, actually live, like me face talking live. Doesn't sound fun, doesn't sound like something I want to do. That probably means that I should lean all the way into it and do it. And maybe I will grow towards that, but it certainly ain't happening right now. So the picture is as good as we're going to get for this particular point in time. And I'd say after 5 years, it is a small baby step that I could possibly make at this point in time. And I just want to thank y'all for loving and encouraging me to do the small changes that I feel comfortable in actually doing. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's jump into the Ascension symptoms that we are likely going to experience for this wackadoodle energetic week ahead. When I say the word intense, okay, in astrology terms, anytime that we're talking about an intensity, we normally connect that particular word, that particular energy with Pluto. Pluto is the intensifier. He's a magnifier. He transforms from one state into the other. And because Pluto is kind of the star of the show this week, it is very, very likely, highly probable that we are going to feel intensity. Now, because we're all in different chapters of our healing journey, because we're all in different points in our path, this intensity is likely going to manifest for all of us in very different ways. But what it is going to do is it's going to intensify the areas that we need to be changing the most. So if you find in your external realm that there's an intensity at work, and there is this building up of anger and resentment and not so good vibes, maybe that's the area of your life that needs to change. Maybe you need to change your job, change your environment. If you're having this intensity in your home life, maybe in your relationship dynamics, maybe with your kids, maybe that is the area of life that you need to be pouring your time, energy, and attention into in order to change, to transform, to stabilize. Now, if you're feeling the intensity in your physical body, which I'm sure we are all going to experience at one point in time, we can tell due to the area that the intensity is showing up in, the area of our physical body, and therefore our mental and emotional plane, and therefore the area of life that is asking for our attention the most. So not that I can spend all of the time going through all of the different body parts here, but let's just say, for example, because we are coming out of Capricorn season, because it has been very heavy, very weighted, there's been a lot of aches and pains in our physical form, in our bodily structure, in our bones, in our hips, in our legs. Maybe the intensity is hitting that particular area of your physical body for you. So what would we learn out of that? Well, first of all, we understand that, oh, my joints are aching, my bones hurt, my legs got cramps in them, my hips are clicking, they're rigid. Okay, so the structure of our physical form is also represented of the physical structures in our physical lives. What are physical structures, you may ask? Well, it's the routines that you have. It's the environment that you're in. It's the relationships that you have. It's the job that you're in. It's the financial state that you're in. The structure, the basic structure of your life. Let's say, for instance, that the intensity is coming in the head space, because of course we're shifting into air energies for the first time in a long time, and it is going to be like information overload. Let's say that the intensity is in your head space. Maybe you're having a headache, maybe you're having a migraine. Well, first of all, that kind of translates into we understand that there's a lot on our mind and we're not necessarily focused on one thing at a time. Again, just multiple windows open, popping off. We just can't make sense of a lot of things coming in. But in our lives, that translates on understanding that there's a time to take information in, there's a time to integrate that information, and then there's a time to express that information outwardly. So if you're having like head pains or intensity in the head, it's time to stop taking in information, like get off the internet. You know what I mean? So many people are just information junkies. They want to know, everything that there is to know, but yet they don't take time to pause, to step away from absorbing information in order to let the information that they've already absorbed actually settle in and integrate. And then they don't take the time to actually express that information outwardly. You can't just cram information in your brain. You actually have to process it and use it. So if you're feeling the intensity in your headspace, let's say, that is a good indicator that you need to really change up the amount of information that you're bringing in. Get off of TikTok, get off of the internet, get off of your phone, get off of the stimulation. Stop reading. I know it's a great thing to read, but if you're reading to absorb information, you're not reading for fun, then you're just cramming too much in that brain space, and you are going to have a kickback. There is going to be an intensity because of it. Regardless, we can all expect that there is going to be a certain shift in the pressure in our headspace. Like I mentioned, we haven't had air energy in a very long time. And especially Aquarius energy, let's talk about the Aquarius energy for a second, that aligns us with the greater, grander levels of intellect. Like that is a new level of consciousness, a new level of awareness. That means our third eyes are just popping open and they're blinking so fast because we're trying to take it all in, but yet we're not processing any of it. It's just like absorption at this particular point in time. Yes, there's a real thirst, a real hunger, a real craving for information and knowledge in this Aquarius energy. And that's going to definitely translate in hunger pains and a new level of thirst. We have to kind of stay hydrated while we move through these particular energy shifts that are really pushing us to have a hunger and a thirst for new scenery, new perspectives, new understanding, new information, new details, a new path to actually contemplate walking. So again, there's just so much going on in the mental plane that this is going to just put us into overdrive, if you will, and create moving headaches, create that head pressure, maybe even have some migraines. It almost feels, and I don't know if you've never experienced a migraine, first of all, kudos to you. You're super lucky. But like there is this day before a migraine comes on where something weird happens in your head and you're like, oh man, I know something's coming on. Like, don't you dare sneeze in the wrong way. Don't you dare look in the wrong way. Like you're just walking on eggshells trying not to trigger this migraine, but your head feels very spacey, very euphoric, very disassociative. Everything is just, I don't know, it's surreal in a sense. Same as when you've had a migraine and then your migraine finally breaks, the day after your migraine finally starts to subside, you're all spacey and it feels very weird and your head feels like it's 500 pounds, but there's a lot going on in there, but you couldn't really articulate it if somebody gave you money to do so. And so this particular energy is what I think we are going to be feeling for this first little chapter into this Aquarius energy, especially seeing as the moon is in Gemini as well. That's air on air that we haven't been used to in a very long time. And the moon being in the Gemini energy as we first enter into Aquarius season is rapidly trying to process the pros and cons from a logical, practical standpoint, especially where our emotions aren't feeling safe, secure, and stable. We're constantly trying to process different avenues, different options, different perspectives, different understandings in order to calm the heart space. But again, reminder, we're going to have a ton of heart activations this week, starting with Venus. Again, as I'm kind of speaking to you now, she's in orb. She's within orb of this 27th degree at Sagittarius energy, which is the galactic center of our little universe here. And so there is this triggering, this activation point that has already begun. And then we shift into that Capricorn energy on the 23rd. Then we have a full heart activation under the full moon in Leo on the 25th. And then again, timelines start speeding up. We are seeing, rapid evolution of some storylines, some timelines once Uranus goes direct as well. And so, the heart activations are definitely going to be a thing this week. Again, let's just take a little bit a minute, talk about heart activation. So maybe your heart is pounding at a more rapid rate than normal. Maybe it's skipping a beat. Maybe you can feel it, more aware of it in your chest. Maybe you're going to have indigestion. Maybe you're going to have hiccups. Maybe you're going to have a pain in your back between your shoulder blades. Regardless, there is this air bubble. We're going to call it the acid reflux GERD bubble that so many of us seem to commonly have at the same time when we're going through solar plexus activations. That plays a part in the heart activations as well, because when we're changing our will and our discipline and our energy and our creative force energy and our strength, that's changing our values, it's changing our confidence, it's changing what it is that we want for ourselves. It's bossing us up to so many different levels that it has this effect on our heart space and manifests as higher gut discomfort as well. And so, it can activate in so many different ways. You could have a whole period of grief. You could have a whole period of sadness. You could have a period of anxiety for no reason. You could feel very alone, very isolated, or you could feel really excited. You could feel like you're on the cusp, on the precipice of a major change. You could feel very, I'm going to say, anxious in a good way for all that is yet to come, feeling very positive, feeling very confident, feeling very new, fresh, anchored in to this new identity, to this new energy. However it manifests, we are going to act as the observer and ask our physical bodies what they're trying to tell us by some of the, let's call it discomfort, or, just, I'm going to call it dis-ease, not saying that we have a dis-ease, but when we're not in a place of peace and harmony and ease, obviously we're in a place of dis-ease where things don't feel so good, they don't feel so stable. We have to observe that and ask our body and our emotions and our thoughts are messengers for what needs to happen, for where it is that we have to do some more work on releasing some energy, some emotion, some trauma out of our physical form in order to lighten the load for us to be downloading that particular space with the good vibes, the new coding, the new programming, if you will. We are technically have been and still kind of going through a defragging process, kind of getting rid of the old programming, trying this new coding out, trying to anchor in and integrate this new coding in where new programming for our actions, our emotions, our thoughts, our ideas, our behaviors are concerned. But it does take some time. And so we just have to be aware of what is going on in our physical body and what that message actually means to us or for us, or is going to direct us in a path to guide us on what needs to be done, repaired, healed, resolved before we go on to this next chapter, this next, we're going to call it scene in the movie, in the play that we are currently preparing. We're kind of behind the curtains right now. We're learning our lines. We're trying to, play through in our mental plane the actions, the timing of the next path, the next plan, the next, step in the strategy that we are looking to take action upon to get us away from where it is that we're at and closer to where it is that we desire to be. And so the way that I like to look at it, and although it doesn't happen overnight, Capricorn energy tends to make us feel like we're in the breakdown phase, right? Like everything's heavy, everything's weighted. We're a little bit negative, a little bit more pessimistic, a little bit, funky, which many of us have felt. That's the breakdown. We need to break things down. Capricorn energy is very reflective over the past year that we've had and kind of sorting out what is working for us, what isn't working for us, so that we're not taking, topics and themes that we've outgrown into this next chapter. We're weeding things out, so to speak. We're focusing in on what is working for us. We want to improve it. And so the breakdown happens in Capricorn energy so we can get very clear on what the plan actually needs to be. The Aquarius energy is the breakthrough energy. Suddenly, we're not as heavy, we're not as weighted, we're not as stuck in funky town as many of us have been through Capricorn season. Instead, we're going all the way from Earth energy at the very bottom of the elemental totem pole, so to speak, launching all the way up into the air, giving us the biggest, broadest perspective that we could possibly gain. And that's why our headspace just feels like it's going to explode. Again, hate to use another airplane analogy, although thank you for those of you that said that the last week's airplane analogy was super helpful to kind of interpret and understand the energy that we were currently in. But when you take off and you are, climbing into the sky and reaching those levels of altitude, there is a certain G-force pressure on your headspace. Your ears start popping and clicking, and, it does kind of feel like your head is pressurized. And then when the plane stabilizes and you reach that, flying altitude, you look out of the window and suddenly everything looks different. The perspective that you have looks different. And so this is kind of what we're doing. We're bridging the gap between the Capricorn energy, the Aquarius energy. We're moving from the breakdown to the breakthrough, but it's a lot to process, thus the pressure in our head. Now, I want to talk about the weirdness. Okay, so Aquarius energy, typically speaking, if you were to say something about weirdness, aliens, technology, this is weird, different, perspectives, or weird clothing or weird concepts, Aquarius energy, typically speaking, connects to the word weird. Shit is going to get weird. I've been talking about this for a very, very long time. 2024, things are going to get hella weird. They need to get hella weird in order for us to really test our ability to discern what is real and what is not. Okay, so we've been talking about, and again, I'm going to recommend that you listen to the 2024 year ahead overview if you haven't already. I broke it down by months so that we can understand what each month is going to bring for us. But we have to kind of step back and really understand that this is the last year of kind of going back and forth between, and I'm talking about Pluto specifically, between the Aquarius energy and the Capricorn energy. The Aquarius energy that we set up permanently in November 2024, that is going to be the next chapter, taking us all the way into 2044. Okay, so it's a big deal. It's a big chapter. But Aquarius energy, typically speaking, is weird. Things are going to get weird. Things are going to feel weird. And I want you to pay special attention, especially over the course of this week, where you are moving throughout your day and you identify to yourself, that's weird. So maybe you go to grab, I don't know, I do this, so I'm going to use this as an example. I have like 6 sets of scissors in my house, and I like to have one pair of scissors in every room. I don't know why. It's just when something strikes you and you need scissors, I hate to have to come downstairs and get them out of the drawer and then take them back up. And then I have ADHD, so I usually lose them in that room. And then I go to the drawer to get the scissors for something else later in the day. And now I'm on a treasure hunt for where I left my scissors. Okay, so it's weird, but I have all 6 pairs of my scissors right now, totally defeating the purpose of having 6 pairs of scissors in one drawer. They're all in the same drawer. So again, totally defeating the purpose of having 6 pairs of scissors, one for every, area, one for every room. I often go to the scissor drawer looking for a pair of scissors, and there's not one pair there. Right now, I have all 6 pairs together. That's weird. And then sometimes I will go and there's not one pair of scissors to be found. not in that drawer, not in the visible area. I go through all the different rooms and there's no scissors. And I stop and I say, that's weird. This is what I mean. There's going to be weird instances, especially this week. Maybe you have a thought that pops in your head and it's so extreme to what it is that your normal thought patterns are that you're like, that's weird. Maybe you're in a drive-through and you are looking at the cars in front of you. You're looking at their license plates, and every single one of them have a commonality between their license plate, maybe with repeating, letters, numbers, whatever the case may be. And you're like, that's weird. Maybe you're out driving and you're waiting for somebody to let you out on the road and all the cars that go by are the same color. That's weird. The reason why I want you to start realizing the weirdness is because the timeline that we just shifted into is a different programming. So, as you know, we live in this Earth matrix. It is a simulation to a certain extent. And although we just broke away from the old programming, the old, let's call it game construct, the old simulation, if you will, we're in a new level of the video game. You know how me and my video game analogies. Anyways, we're in a new level of the video game, and the video game looks very similar to the level that we just beat, except there are just weird little things that make things different. And first glance, everything looks like we're kind of in the exact same level of the video game. But once you start going through this level of the video game, you realize that there's different aspects in this particular level of the video game that are off. They're not normal. Something's different about it. Something's weird. So the reason why I want you to kind of be more in this awareness is because the more we call the simulation out, the more pressure the quote unquote game creators feel. Now I want to give you a Hunger Games scenario. In the Hunger Games, when they realize that the game players actually know about the game and know when the certain, areas with the time clock pop off, that they start piecing it together like, oh, we're in a clock. Oh, okay. So the game simulators, they're like, oh, damn, let's throw extra dangerous creatures at them, or let's throw them in a storm scenario, or whatever the case may be. Same with the Truman Show. The minute that Truman began to realize that he was in a simulation is the minute that the creators of the game were pressurized to come up with new things and to alter the patterns, to alter the simulation so that it's not the same cars. He's not waving at the same neighbors. He's not, bumping into the same people at the supermarket. The same thing goes for us. The minute that we can call out the simulation is the minute that we rise into a new level of consciousness, which puts the game creators in a pressurized state to realize that they're losing control over the game. And so anytime you think something weird, you feel something weird, you observe something weird, call it out. Oh, that's weird. You guys are going to have to do better. You guys are really, really desperate coming up for new storylines. I talk like that all the time. And whether I'm crazy or not doesn't really matter. It feels like the minute that you call out a repetitious pattern or behavior in the simulation, that's the minute that you don't see it again. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be really transparent here. And this is probably a totally different topic and theme that I could probably make a whole podcast about. Maybe I will. I'm in the dead of winter here in Canada, okay? It's cold as F here. There's snow on the ground. Actually, it's all ice. So when I say cold, like it is super cold. I live in a new construction house, been here for over a year, went through spring, went through summer, no problems, no issues, never had an ant in my house. Now here we are in the depths of the freaking freezing cold, and I have ants in my kitchen, and I only have one particular area that these ants are even congregating in, and it's not even in an area where there could be any crumbs, any food, anything of the sort. I'm a very clean person. I have OCD. All surfaces are sterilized pretty much all the freaking time. And so to have ants is a bewildering thing to me. Now, I believe that animals, even ants, even insects, are used to a certain degree as I'm going to call it, I don't know what I want to call them. I call them informers. Think of like Agent Smith in The Matrix. you can remote view through different animals. And if you're able to remote view and you're able to kind of tap into the eyes of an animal and really kind of piggyback off their soul and their spirit, you can observe a lot of very interesting situations that you would never be able to get in as the human ego avatar that you currently are. And so, because we're in a spiritual war, and I know this is going to sound cray-cray, but you know what? I'm the conductor of the cray-cray train, so let me lead here. I truly believe we are in a spiritual war. I believe that when you stand in your power of your real, true, authentic self, and I try to do that the best I can, I know that I put myself out there for the public to see, good, bad, or otherwise, but it also puts me in a very vulnerable situation. And that's why I feel very, very lucky to be as protected as I am by the higher forces that have sent me here on this mission to do this work. I don't really fear a whole lot, but spiritual attacks are real. And I feel, especially when I release content that is very powerful, that has the ability to change people's vibrations and frequencies for the better, I always see some sort of quote unquote attack. Now, me, I hate bugs. I hate them. I know that we're all one. I know that that ant is just as much a part of me as I am of it. And I apologize to the ant before I kill it. And yes, I do kill it. Sometimes if we were in, spring or summer, I would take those little buggies outdoors and save them. I don't know if I would do it for ants because there's too many of them and I don't really care for them. But, again, freezing cold, sleet, sheet of ice, super snow out there. What are they going to do? They're going to die outdoors anyways. I apologize to them, but I also let them know that I also believe that they are being used in a certain way to kind of trigger and activate me in a way that is going to bring my vibration down. I feel like I'm being watched by these little worker ants, and there's a whole thing on this, and hopefully this isn't the first time that you're hearing of this concept. If it is, then wow. I mean, you really have to take a good look at what familiars are and how, spiritual people do have the power to remote view through animal eyes. But insects for me, I always think of, what is that movie? Totally blanking on that movie. It was a witchcraft movie, early 90s. Oh, that's going to bother me. Anyways, that was one of the things that they manifested in an attack towards the White Light Witch was, just bugs and reptiles and snakes and spiders that she was fearful about just covering her home and just infiltrating her home. And I often think about that. And anytime that I see bugs, especially where they shouldn't be, especially in a season that they shouldn't even be seen in, it always kind of triggers something in me where I'm like, maybe I'm being infiltrated. Maybe I'm being watched. Now, I know that sounds like a serious case of paranoia. I don't let it get to me in that way, but I just think it's weird. And that was my whole point, is that to me is a weird situation, a weird scenario that just does not make sense to be happening right now. And so I call that simulation out. I'm like, okay, guys, yeah, ants, that's good. Nice tactic there, but I'm going to kill all these ants. You're going to have to do better. You know what I mean? So it's that willpower that we need to stand in to call out the weirdness of the simulation that is taking place around us in order for the game creators to know that, guess what? We're on to you. You're going to have to do better. I want to talk about, I know I did talk about the aches and pains, just, using that as an example for the intensity that we may be feeling. But the physical form will get lighter as we move into this Aquarius energy, which is going to help alleviate a lot of the pain, a lot of the pressure that we've been feeling in our physical bodies, especially where our legs are concerned. So many of us having leg cramps or growing pains or sciatica or tremors of sort. May I just remind you that that's where we store fear, is in our kneecaps, and our ankles and our hips. But we have to kind of understand that we are about to make a huge leap forward. And when we are on the precipice of a major energy shift where we are making a leap forward, we tend to kind of clam up in a state of paralysis because we're allowing fear to get the best of us in a lot of instances. And a lot of that is going to exacerbate and intensify the discomfort that we are feeling in our lower extremities. Again, the further that we get in that Aquarian energy, I do expect that to subside. But in these final days, in these final hours of this Capricorn energy, please be very kind to yourself. Do soothing exercises. Soak yourself in a salt bath. You know, get a warming pad on, do a little dance, a little jig in your kitchen just to move the energy out. We are feeling very heavy, very weighted, very crampy, very achy in our leg space. Now, last week I did talk about frequent trips to the bathroom, and not that we are going to be doing as many, but may I remind you that because we have a new hunger, a new thirst for knowledge, for clarity, for progress here in the Aquarius energy, we are going to see a shift in our cravings, in our diets as well, which we have kind of been experimenting with over these last couple of weeks. But we do have to double down on staying hydrated. And for that reason, yes, we're cleansing. Yes, we're kind of purifying. Yes, we're kind of giving the fluidity that we need in order for the electrical impulses to carry through our meridians in a much easier way. But of course, that is going to impact the amount of bathroom trips that we are likely going to experience. When I say just get it out of you, you know, if you need to cry, get it out. You need to scream, get it out. You need to pee, get it out. You need to go number 2, get it out. Get anything out of your physical body that you're holding on to. If you have a feeling, you have a sensation, get it out of your body. We got to lighten the body up, especially moving into all of this air energy. We have to kind of release the heaviness, the weight from the physical form in order to reach new vibration, new frequency levels. So any kind of, you know, releasing, purging that you need to do, get it out of you. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about is a common thing that we've been talking about, which is our sleep structure. So again, sleep structures will be changing. Especially over the next couple of days. I suspect that half of us, especially with dominant water, dominant fire energies in our chart, will likely still be struggling to stay asleep, to have sound sleep, and our dreams are going to be a little bit more anxiety filled, a little bit more on the, I'm not going to say like imaginary state because it's not outlandish. We're literally just dreaming of another mundane life that we live in the astral realm. But for earth energies and air energies, I think y'all are going to have a pleasant change, not only in your sleep situation, but in your dreamscapes as well. And y'all are leading the charge. And so we are kind of relying on you guys that are able to sleep for longer periods of time and are able to kind of navigate the astral realms. We are asking you to hold space for us to hold it down until we can all kind of group together and kind of go into the dream state together. This is a new level of awareness. This is a new level of consciousness. And so we do have to just understand that the transition for all of us to get on the same page in that vibration, in that frequency, is going to take a little bit of time. But I do feel, especially throughout the course of this week, again, just keep in mind, anytime we have full moon events or new moon events, that typically speaking is the turning point of the sleep habits, the dream habits that we've been in and that we are now moving into. So we have all of those things to check off our list here this week. And so just pay special attention to how the sleep state is changing. I cannot stress how grateful I will be when we all can sleep a normal amount of sleep at the same time and join forces in the astral realm together once again. I cannot wait for that. But we're not going all in all at the same time. And so this is a kind of stagged structure of re-entering into the astral realm. And I'm pretty sure, like I previously mentioned, that my dominant earth and air energies are going to get the first go, leaving the water and fire energies behind a little bit to kind of, I don't know, torture us a little bit more, let's say, cultivate new dreams, cultivate new visions. I'm not sure what the actual meaning of it is to break us up elementally that way. But we will all catch up, I would say, and be on the same page after the full moon in Leo. That's kind of the defragging part of this old version of self, these old timelines, in order for us to integrate and anchor in and ground into this new version of self, these new timelines. And then from there, it's kind of like forward, we're going to charge. And I'm expecting that we are all going to charge ahead together. So guys, I think that's all that I have to share for this week. Of course, I thank you so much for being here, for joining in, for dropping comments and emojis below. I thank you so much for the love and support. I thank you for showing up for me, but mostly I thank you for showing up for yourself. I'm sending you nothing but love. We'll talk to you soon.